Hello and welcome to back to InFoMaX. Today we will be talking about a few complete relations. Our first two countries are Pakistan and India. Both of them were owned by the British. Eventually, Bangladesh separated from Pakistan after all of them separated from the British. These two countries' relations are very tense, and a point of conflict between their relations is Jammu and Kashmir. This area had a Hindu minority with a Muslim majority. The Hindu minority ruled the Muslim majority, and the Hindu minority voted to become a part of India. But Pakistan said that they're supposed to join Pakistan because they have a Hindu majority. China also has disputed borders with this. Moving on. Terrorism is also another huge point of conflict. Terrorism, all four of these countries, Afghanistan, the UK, the US, and India, have all said Pakistan is the cause for terrorism in Kashmir and Afghanistan, and have blamed Pakistan for these things. An example of Pakistani terrorism is the attack on the Indian Parliament, which resulted in a standoff between these two countries. Canadian-US relations. Our next two countries are Canada and the US. Canada is to the north of the US, and we've always had great trade relations. Our people have always mixed, but we'll get into that later. First, let's talk about the British. The British, like India and Pakistan, owned both Canada and the US, and they got rid of the British in different ways. Some longer than others. We have only gone to war twice. We have gone to war in the French and Indian War, when Canada was owned by the French and America was owned by the English. And so the war was over who would control the New World. So much of the war took place in the US and Canada. We also went to war during the 1812 where Canada beat the US. As I said before, the people of Canada have always come to the US, and the US the same to Canada. We do not agree on everything, as there are a few points that we do not agree on. The Vietnam War, Cuba, War on Terror, and Iraq. As I've said repeatedly throughout the section of this video, Canada-US relations, Canada and the US have great relations, probably better than any country, with the longest unguarded border. Although we don't have open borders, although I think we really should. Here are some differences and similarities between Canada and the US. Moving on, let's talk about North-South Korean relations, which is all over the news today, and you've probably heard of North Korea, although many people don't know where the Korean Peninsula is. Before we get into the actual map, here's a satellite image of the two countries. That dark place is North Korea. That place under the dark country is South Korea. This can explain a lot if you figure out this map. By the way, to be clear, the Korean peninsula is right under China. Here is a map of North and South Korea. North and South Korea have horrible relations. I don't think it can get much worse. They have the world's most dangerous border. With a demilitarized zone. And the way they communicate, you have to watch something on the way they communicate. It's strange. To know why they're split, you have to know a little bit of history. The Japanese invaded the Korean peninsula, as well as Manchuria, that's the part of China above the Korean peninsula, and owned the entire Korean peninsula. And the Korean peninsula was thought that they were a subset of the Japanese people. Eventually, Japan was defeated and they lost their colonies as well. The US took over the southern part of the Korean peninsula and Soviet Russia did not. Now, Soviet Russia and the US eventually ended up in this Cold War, which is where they had a set of proxy wars, such as the Vietnam War. Their first proxy war, I believe, is the Korean War. Eventually, China stepped in because China was worried about the US getting really, really close to their borders. It was uncomfortable for China. Eventually, the war ended. Eventually, the Soviet Communist Russia collapsed, and then we have the Russian Republic, which stopped supporting North Korea, while the US still supports South Korea. North Korea's current leader is Kim Jong-un, who has threatened the world, including Australia, American movie theaters. They have declared to bomb the strangest places for the strangest reasons. Here, this picture can show you. This picture shows you the tension between South and North Korea. I don't think there's any country with worse relations. Okay, please subscribe, like, share, and vote. Wait, what? No, sorry. All the states in red and purple, recognize them as a country, and all the states